harsh truth we need to face. In our journey through life, an undeniable yet difficult truth emerges. Some people find pleasure in causing harm and chaos around us. Take a moment to think. Could someone you trust, with whom you share your most precious moments, actually be the true source of your turmoil? The idea is disturbing, but it's extremely important to consider. Today, we will dive into a topic that, although unsettling, is both fascinating and essential. How to recognize the signs that you are dealing with a bad person. These individuals could be co-workers, friends, or even members of your own family. What makes the situation even more complicated is that these people often disguise themselves with charm and charisma, making it difficult to see their true nature. But what if there was a way to see beyond these appearances? Today, we aren't just exploring this dark side out of curiosity. Understanding these signs could be the difference between protecting your peace of mind and falling into the traps of manipulation. Are you ready to learn how to defend yourself against these toxic influences? The Stoics and the importance of perception. The Stoics, great thinkers of antiquity, teach us the power of clear perception and a life guided by reason and virtue. When we can identify toxic traits in others, we are able to protect our inner tranquility and build healthier relationships. But how can these ancient principles be applied in our daily lives? Stay with us as we reveal 5 signs that indicate you might be dealing with a bad person. By the end of this video, not only will you be able to identify these harmful behaviors, but you'll also learn practical ways to protect your mental health and well-being. And if you value the content we bring here, a simple request. Subscribe to the channel, and please don't skip any part of the video. You won't want to miss the special bonus section we've prepared at the end. Sign 1. The charming deception. Let's start with the first revealing sign. Imagine being next to someone who, at first glance, seems to be the most charming and charismatic person you've ever met. This person lights up any room, making everyone around them feel special and valued. They know exactly what to say to win your trust and make you believe you've found someone truly special. But what if this facade was just that? A facade? The Stoics teach us to look beyond superficial appearances and seek the truth through reason and careful observation. Over time, small cracks may begin to appear in this person's charming exterior. At first, you might notice that these people are excellent at picking up on your interests and weaknesses. Have you ever been with someone who seemed to know exactly what you liked and what made you feel good? This is a common technique used to create a quick and intense bond, establishing a connection that seems unique and genuine. But what if that connection was an artificial construct, created to manipulate you? The charm and charisma of these people are often used to mask less noble intentions. They may show an unusual interest in your stories, always seeming to be completely engaged. But this attention is actually a way of gathering information that can be used against you in the future. Have you ever wondered why certain people seem to know you so well, so quickly? These individuals are masters of social manipulation. Have you ever noticed someone who knows exactly when to smile, when to compliment, and when to offer support, but deep down always seems to be one step ahead planning their next move? This behavior is not accidental. Over time, you may start to notice that these people always need to be the center of attention, frequently interrupting others, or even subtly putting them down in public. Does this sound familiar? These aren't just quirks. They are clear warning signs. The Stoics would advise us to observe these behaviors with a clear and objective mind, not clouded by initial excitement. Now, imagine yourself at a party where this person monopolizes every conversation. At first, it might seem fun to be around someone so engaging, but as the night progresses, you realize that everything revolves around this person. When you try to share something personal, they quickly steer the subject back to themselves. This is where the Stoic principle of apatheia, the state of being undisturbed by external things, becomes essential. By remaining emotionally balanced, you can see beyond the superficial charm and recognize the egocentric nature behind it. But what happens when you start resisting this behavior? How do they react? Sign 2. Lack of empathy. An underestimated danger. Lack of empathy is one of the most dangerous signs that you are dealing with a bad person. Have you ever had the feeling that someone simply didn't care about your feelings? Empathy is the ability to put yourself in others' shoes, to understand and share their feelings. It is fundamental to building healthy and meaningful relationships. However, some people seem completely devoid of this essential characteristic. They don't care about the impact of their actions or words on others, and this can be devastating for those around them. But how can you identify this lack of empathy before it causes irreparable damage? These people generally show little or no regard for others' feelings, always prioritizing their own desires and needs. Have you ever been with someone who seemed incapable of understanding your pain or joy, even in situations that clearly called for compassion? This is a clear sign of a lack of empathy. Now think of a time when you needed emotional support. How did the person you expected empathy from respond? People without empathy often minimize others' problems, offering superficial responses or even dismissing their difficulties. Have you ever shared a personal struggle with someone who simply ignored or disregarded your feelings? This attitude can be incredibly painful, leaving the person feeling isolated and misunderstood. In work environments, for example, an unempathetic boss might demand too much from their employees, ignoring their limits and well-being. Have you ever worked for someone who seemed not to care that you were overwhelmed or stressed? In personal relationships, the lack of empathy can manifest in even more subtle but equally harmful ways. A person who lacks empathy may seem uninterested in your problems, never offering support when you need it most. How would you feel if you were in a relationship where your pain and suffering were constantly ignored? This behavior can even extend to your achievements. Instead of celebrating your victories, the person without empathy might downplay them or even try to take credit for them. And what if you realize that someone close to you didn't care about your success or happiness? Sign 3. Manipulation, a game of mind control. Manipulation is one of the most subtle yet devastating forms of toxic behavior. Have you ever wondered why some people always seem to get what they want regardless of the cost to others? Manipulators are masters at distorting situations and making you question your own reality. They use cunning tactics to influence or control you, often leaving you confused and insecure about your own judgments. How can you protect yourself against this type of mind control? Manipulators know exactly how to play with your emotions to get what they want. Have you ever been in a situation where you ended up doing something you didn't want to do but felt emotionally pressured into doing it? That's manipulation in action. They might use guilt, fear, or even pity to influence your decisions, making it difficult for you to resist their demands. Have you ever felt guilty for saying no to someone, even though you knew it was the right decision for you? This induced guilt is a classic manipulative tactic. Sign 3. Manipulation, a game of mind control. Manipulation is one of the most subtle yet devastating forms of toxic behavior. Have you ever wondered why some people always seem to get what they want regardless of the cost to others? Manipulators are masters at distorting situations and making you question your own reality. They use cunning tactics to influence or control you, often leaving you confused and insecure about your own judgments. How can you protect yourself against this type of mind control? Manipulators know exactly how to play with your emotions to get what they want. Have you ever been in a situation where you ended up doing something you didn't want to do but felt emotionally pressured into doing it? That's manipulation in action. They might use guilt, fear, or even pity to influence your decisions, making it difficult for you to resist their demands. Have you ever felt guilty for saying no to someone, even though you knew it was the right decision for you? This induced guilt is a classic manipulative tactic. Another common form of manipulation is gaslighting, where the manipulator makes you doubt your own memory or sanity. Have you ever been in a situation where you started to doubt your own recollections because someone categorically claimed that things happened differently? This is gaslighting, an insidious form of manipulation that can erode your confidence and autonomy. And what if you start questioning all your memories and perceptions? This is exactly the manipulator's goal, to make you doubt yourself so that you become even more dependent on them. Manipulators are also skilled at creating an image of themselves as victims, making you feel responsible for their emotional well-being. Have you ever felt that you needed to solve someone else's problems, even when it was clearly beyond your control? This is a common trap in manipulation, where the person makes you feel obligated to help them, regardless of the cost to yourself. How can you set boundaries without being consumed by guilt or obligation? Sign 4. Controlling behavior. The invisible prison. Controlling behavior is an unmistakable sign of a malicious person. Have you ever felt that someone was trying to control every aspect of your life, leaving little room for your own autonomy? This type of behavior goes beyond simple preferences. It's about a deep desire to dominate your decisions and your freedom. Controlling people often disguise this behavior as concern or care, but in reality, it's about power and control. But how do you differentiate between genuine concern and disguised control? Controlling individuals often try to isolate you from your friends and family. Have you ever been in a relationship where your partner or friend constantly criticized the important people in your life, suggesting that you distance yourself from them? This is a common control tactic, where the person tries to undermine your support system so that you depend solely on them. How do you deal with this form of emotional manipulation? This isolation is dangerous because, by losing contact with people who can offer an outside perspective, you become more susceptible to control and manipulation. Another sign of controlling behavior is the constant need to know where you are and what you are doing. Have you ever had someone who demanded constant updates on your location and activities, under the pretext of concern? This constant need for vigilance is not a sign of care, but rather of distrust and a desire for control. How can you establish your independence in a relationship where control is disguised as concern? In more intimate relationships, controlling behavior can become even more dangerous, to the point of monitoring your activities, demanding constant updates, and even dictating who you can or cannot see. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt that your choices and decisions were constantly questioned or devalued? This type of controlling behavior can lead to a loss of autonomy and self-esteem, making you start to doubt your ability to make decisions on your own. How can you regain your autonomy when you are trapped in a web of control? Sign 5. Pathological lying, when truth becomes flexible. Finally, one of the most devastating signs of a bad person is pathological lying. Have you ever felt trapped in a web of lies so intricate that you could no longer distinguish what was true? Lying occasionally is something we all do, but pathological liars constantly distort reality, often for no apparent reason. But how can you protect your sanity and well-being when you are involved with someone who lies compulsively? Pathological liars have a special talent for distorting reality in such a way that you don't always realize you are being deceived. Have you ever been in a situation where someone always seemed to have a ready and convincing explanation for everything, even when the evidence pointed to the contrary? This is a common technique used to confuse and disorient, making you doubt your own observations and instincts. How can you identify a pathological liar before it's too late? These lies may start small, like exaggerations or omissions, but they quickly evolve into large-scale fabrications that can deeply impact your life. Imagine discovering that someone you trusted lied about important aspects of their life, such as their past, their intentions, or their feelings. How would this affect your trust and emotional well-being? When confronted, pathological liars often become defensive or aggressive, deflecting blame and accusing you of being unfair or paranoid. How would you react if someone tried to turn the tables on you after being caught lying? Furthermore, pathological liars often create a web of deceit so intricate that it's difficult to escape. Have you ever been involved in a situation where the lies were so deep and intertwined that it seemed impossible to find the truth? This confusion is a deliberate strategy to keep you trapped in the web of lies, where the person can continue to manipulate you without being exposed. How can you maintain your sanity and clarity amid a whirlwind of lies? Protecting yourself against toxic people. The power of boundaries. Now that you know these 5 signs, the question remains: how can you protect yourself from these harmful behaviors while maintaining your peace and integrity? Setting boundaries is one of the most crucial skills you can develop when dealing with difficult or toxic people. Boundaries are about defining what you accept and what you don't accept in your relationships. and they are essential to protecting your mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. Have you ever set clear boundaries in your relationships? The Stoics, who emphasized the importance of personal integrity and inner peace, would see setting boundaries as a fundamental practice for maintaining a virtuous and tranquil life. First, it's important to recognize that setting boundaries is not about being harsh or cruel. It's about respecting yourself and ensuring that others respect you as well. Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you had clear and assertive boundaries in all your relationships? Clarity is key. You need to be specific about which behaviors you will not tolerate and communicate this clearly and assertively. Are you ready to communicate your boundaries clearly and assertively? Moreover, consistency is essential. It's not enough to declare your boundaries once and expect others to respect them without reminders. Are you willing to maintain your boundaries even when it's difficult? Finally, in some cases, setting boundaries may mean making tough decisions, such as distancing yourself from certain people, or even ending relationships that are toxic or harmful. Are you prepared to make these decisions to protect your peace of mind? The Stoics would remind us that our primary responsibility is to our own virtue and well-being. What are you willing to do to protect your inner peace? Remember that setting boundaries is a form of self-respect and self-love. It's about recognizing your own worth and refusing to let others diminish you. Are you ready to live according to these principles and foster a life of peace, virtue, and resilience?